MAVAKAGA.
All right, so get this. You send in a whole stack of articles and Reddit threads all about Dogecoin and this new government department, the D.O.G.E. department, and want to know what it all means?
Yeah.
Well, you came to the right place. This is going to be a fun deep dive.
It's certainly a fascinating topic, that's for sure. You've got government action, cryptocurrency. I mean, how often do those two things collide? And the fact that this new Department of Government Efficiency just happens to share, the same acronym as Dogecoin.
The D.O.G.E. department.
Exactly. Well, it's definitely causing some waves in the crypto community, particularly over on Reddit.
Oh, yeah. And I'm talking about a full-blown tsunami of speculation over on Dogecoin.
Yeah.
It's like everyone over there is convinced this is some secret message, some kind of bat signal from the government that Dogecoin is about to just, take over.
I see.
People are saying things like, Dogecoin is about to go crazy and Doge to the moon.
Of course, to the moon.
Of course. Gotta love that one.
Yeah.
Some are even saying that, get this, the Fed is going to start buying up Dogecoin as, part of their reserve currency.
Wow. I mean, I can see why people are getting excited. It's a pretty wild thought, right? That a government department, even if it was totally by accident, could give a boost to let's be honest, meme-based cryptocurrency.
Right.
But we got to remember, correlation doesn't always mean causation. Just because these two things are happening around the same time doesn't automatically mean they're, directly related.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. So maybe not everyone's packing their bags for the moon just yet. I'm also seeing a good bit of, skepticism.
Yeah.
Kind of mixed in with all the hype.
Yeah, there are always going to be some doubters.
Definitely. Some are worried about what this new department could mean, especially when it comes to government programs and spending.
Right.
Someone even said, it means Elon will cut a bunch of government-funded programs he doesn't like.
Oh, interesting.
And another one just said, flat out, Doge is not going to the moon.
Okay, so there's definitely a range of opinions out there. But this whole situation really brings to mind a classic market phenomenon. We see it a lot with crypto and honestly with a lot of assets that are, let's say, speculative. Buy the rumor, sell the news.
Oh, man. I've definitely been burned by that one before.
Yeah. It's easy to get caught up in the hype. But, what's really interesting here is the psychology of it all. The anticipation of, something big happening.
Like this new department being created.
Exactly. It often drives prices way up.
Yeah.
Even more than the actual event itself, because people are buying into that potential, the what might happen.
I see.
And then once the news actually breaks, you often see a sell-off. People are taking their profits or they realize, oh, the impact wasn't as big as they thought it would be.
So are we seeing that with Dogecoin right now? Is this a real increase in value, based on people actually using it in the real world? Or is it just temporary hype, all because of this D.O.G.E. acronym and all the, speculation? Is this whole thing just going to fizzle out once everyone calms down a bit?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? And it's tough to say for sure.
Right.
But it's definitely something to think about, especially before making any investment decisions. Are you buying into the hype? Or are you approaching this with, a healthy dose of skepticism?
I mean, that's the age-old struggle for any, Dogecoin fan or any crypto investor, really. It's do you HODL, hold on to your coins no matter what, hoping for that big payoff someday? Or do you try to, sell high and make some profit, knowing that this whole thing could just be a temporary spike?
Yeah.
And the Reddit threads, they're a perfect example of this whole internal debate.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just about, FOMO or greed. There are legitimate concerns about market manipulation, especially with a coin like Dogecoin, which has an unlimited supply.
Right.
I saw this one comment on Reddit. It was really insightful. They were arguing that this unlimited supply makes Dogecoin especially vulnerable to, manipulation by wealthy investors who can basically just control the price.
Oh, wow. That's kind of scary. If just a handful of people can swing the price that much, doesn't that make the whole thing seem kind of rigged? What's the real value then?
Exactly. And we're not just talking about hypothetical risks here. Remember that story about the Dogecoin millionaire who lost almost everything because he held on for too long? It's a harsh reminder that timing is everything in this market, and understanding how it all works, it's crucial.
That's a good reminder. So for all you listeners out there, it's time for some soul searching. Are you caught up in the hype? Are you letting the to the moon crowd, sway you? Or are you able to take a step back, look at everything objectively, and make smart decisions based on, a solid understanding of how the market works and what this technology is all about.
It's so easy to get caught up in the excitement, especially when you see those prices going up. But remembering that crypto is a volatile market, that can help you make more rational
It
choices.
really is a roller coaster of emotions. The thrill of maybe winning big, the worry of missing out, the fear of losing everything. It's like, how do you navigate all of that and come out on top?
Well, that's what we're here to help you figure out. Okay, so let's shift gears a bit.
Yeah,
We've talked about, the initial reactions, the market psychology, some of the risks.
right,
But
right.
what about the bigger picture, the long-term implications of all this?
Yeah, let's zoom out a little. One thing that keeps popping up in these Reddit threads is this idea of like Dogecoin becoming a real currency, like actually challenging the dollar. Is that even possible?
Hmm. It's an interesting thought. Imagine, buying your groceries with Dogecoin or paying your rent, even getting your salary in Dogecoin.
Wow. Yeah.
But realistically, there are some major hurdles to overcome before we get to that point, like widespread adoption.
I mean, yeah. For starters, the price of Dogecoin is, well, it's all over the place.
Volatile, yeah.
Super volatile. It's been on a wild ride since it, first came out. And that's not exactly like confidence inspiring if you're thinking about using it for everyday transactions.
Mhm.
I mean, would you want to buy your morning coffee with something that could lose half its value overnight?
I see your point. Stability is like essential for any currency to really take hold. And while, yeah, people are using Dogecoin for some things like tipping online or, small purchases, it's nowhere near being a real alternative to traditional currencies.
Okay, but let's, just for fun, play devil's advocate here.
Sure.
Let's say Dogecoin somehow does become like mainstream.
Okay.
Wouldn't that make this whole D.O.G.E department thing like
Yeah.
a stroke of genius?
Okay.
Maybe someone saw this coming and
Yeah.
created the department to, ride the Dogecoin wave.
That's definitely getting into speculation territory.
Right.
It's fun to think about, sure, like what kind of influence a government department could have on, the success of a cryptocurrency. But we got to remember, governments are, well, they're complicated.
For sure.
Their actions are usually driven by a lot of different factors, not just, what's happening in the crypto market.
Right. Okay. But let's not completely rule out the possibility of like unintentional influence.
I hear you.
Couldn't the D.O.G.E department, just by existing, even if it had nothing to do with crypto, couldn't it create a self-fulfilling prophecy where Dogecoin becomes more valuable just because people associate it with, a government thing?
Yeah, that's not totally impossible. I mean, we've already seen how the name alone has generated a ton of buzz and speculation, especially in the crypto community.
And buzz can turn into like actual investment,
Absolutely.
which then drives up the price. It's like a feedback loop almost.
Yeah, you could say that. It's the power of narrative in the financial markets. What people believe can be just as powerful as, what's actually happening, especially with crypto.
So how do we cut through the noise? How do we figure out if this Dogecoin surge is like real or just hype and speculation?
That's the challenge. It means looking beyond the emotions, the Reddit threads, and really digging into the fundamental factors that determine, whether a cryptocurrency has legs.
Okay, so let's get down to it. What are Dogecoin's strengths, weaknesses? Does it have the tech behind it to back up its ambitions? Or is it always going to be just a meme coin, riding a wave of hype? Okay, so we've talked about the hype, the speculation, even the potential risks. But let's get down to brass tacks here. What is Dogecoin, really? Is it like more than just a meme? Does it have any real staying power in this whole crypto world?
Well, to understand Dogecoin, I think you really have to go back to, where it all began.
Right.
Back in 2013.
Okay.
It was created as, well, kind of like a joke, a parody of Bitcoin, which was, just starting to gain traction back then.
So it started as a meme.
Pretty much. It was based on Litecoin, which itself is a fork of Bitcoin, but with some key differences.
So we're talking about a cryptocurrency that started as a meme. That doesn't sound like a very solid foundation for something people, want to invest in.
You wouldn't think so.
Yeah.
But Dogecoin has actually done, surprisingly well. It might not have the most advanced technology,
Right.
but it has something that a lot of other cryptocurrencies don't. A really strong community.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that going through these Reddit threads, it seems like there's a real sense of like camaraderie among Dogecoin fans.
Okay.
It's like they're all in on the joke, but they also really believe in it, Like they think it could actually become something big.
That's the fascinating thing about Dogecoin. It's tapped into something bigger, something cultural.
It's more than just a coin.
Yeah. It's a symbol of like internet culture. Community. The power of memes to, actually make a difference in the real world.
Okay, but can that translate into, real-world use? What can you actually do with Dogecoin besides, tipping online and maybe buying a Tesla?
Well, those are popular uses for sure, but we are seeing some businesses start to accept it as payment.
'Cause you're right.
And there are efforts to develop more practical applications, like using it for micropayments or as a way to reward content creators.
So it's not just a joke anymore. It's actually trying to, find its place in the real economy.
Yeah, exactly. The question is, can it overcome its limitations?
Like what?
Well, one of the biggest concerns is the unlimited supply. Unlike Bitcoin, which has a fixed supply of 21 million coins, Dogecoin can be mined forever.
So there could be, an infinite amount of Dogecoin out there.
In theory, yes.
Wouldn't that make it, super inflationary? I mean, if the supply keeps growing and growing, wouldn't the value just keep going down?
That's a legitimate concern. Inflation is definitely a risk. But the argument is that, because it's so cheap and there's so much of it, it's perfect for those small everyday transactions.
Makes sense.
The idea is that the sheer volume of those transactions, it could offset the inflationary pressure.
So it all comes down to adoption.
Yeah.
If enough people use it, if it gets integrated into, platforms and services, then maybe, just maybe, it could actually become a real alternative to, traditional money.
That's the hope, at least, for Dogecoin supporters. They believe in the community, its accessibility, and, its meme-powered momentum. They think that can outweigh the technical challenges and, push it into the mainstream.
It's a wild story. Really shows you how unpredictable the crypto world can be. What starts as a joke can turn into a whole movement. And what seems like a long shot can sometimes, just totally defy expectations.
And that's why it's so important to approach it all with an open mind, but also with a healthy dose of skepticism.
Oh, yeah.
Don't get caught up in the hype, the fear of missing out.
Right.
Do your research, understand the technology, and really think about the risks.
And remember, the best thing you can have in this space is knowledge. So keep learning, keep exploring, and keep diving deep. That's all for our deep dive into Dogecoin, the D.O.G.E department, and the wild world of cryptocurrency. We hope you enjoyed the ride.
MAVAKAGA.